Hey everybody, welcome back to Lotta's YouTube channel. It must be Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific time because here I am, Teri Hunter, with your Traversing the Transits, your angel's advice for this beautiful full moon in Aquarius, the blue moon in Aquarius. I'm kind of excited about this moon, and at the same time, there's a feeling of I want to use the word trepidation as well. So I'll talk about that in a second. Good morning, Juan. How are you today? Good to see you. I want to welcome everybody into the chat. This morning I was getting ready and I was called to listen to this 70s band called The Fifth Dimension. And the first song they played was The Age of Aquarius. And I started to laugh because the lyrics go, when the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will rule the planets and love will steer the stars. Something like that are the lyrics. And I thought it was so interesting that they put Mars with Jupiter because, you know, we always think of Mars as the planet of aggression, of war, you know, of scary things in some ways. So I started to think about how that song way back in the 70s was referring to Mars as the truth seeker, the pioneer, the courageous one that will stand in peace, that will guard peace and transform it. And here today, we have a full moon in Aquarius at the 29th degree, blue moon no less. And I feel like this is so powerful because it's conjunct Jupiter. And I think it's giving us an opportunity to really look at our beliefs. And I want to offer this because when I was getting ready, I was thinking about, you know, we could think about our beliefs about the various political dynamics going on right now and the medical issues at hand. I put that in quotes. But I think what was really hitting me today was the idea that a lot of my beliefs are habitual, meaning this. I had talked about this, I don't know if it was last week or when I did, but there are certain reactions I have to my history, to interactions with people that come from when I was called Teresa. That's my God-given name. And I started to realize that in that habit, I wasn't giving life to all the evolution I'd done. Because I will bet every single one of you in this chat and watching this video in playback have been working hard to claim their happiness, that are tired of saying, you know, I don't have this and I don't have that and I have to struggle. And so I feel like this full moon in Aquarius, the second, the blue moon, with this conjunction to Jupiter is giving us this opportunity truly to step into our own Aquarian age. You know, this age of liberating myself from this old idea. Because when I looked at my habit of feeling sad in this situation, I realized I felt relief. For the first time, I felt like I'd given myself permission to step out of this situation, even though everything in my DNA says I'm supposed to stay in that situation, but it's not healthy for me and it doesn't bring out the best in me. And it's this constant pushing this rock uphill. So as I started to step into that, I was like, wow, if I look into how I've evolved, then I don't have to release anything because releasing is hard. You know, a lot of people will coach you into using the full moon to release your issues. All that does is put focus on the issue. And when we put focus on the issue, we start drawing more evidence that that issue is valid. So I started using Lucky as my measure of happiness because Lucky is the happiest little creature I've ever seen. I mean, honestly, every time we walk in this house, he runs to his toy box, he gets toys. He is so connected to his happiness. And by the way, he has Jupiter and Venus in Taurus. It's just like brilliant dog. So I started using him and starting to try to be like him, focusing on what makes me happy and focusing on all the things I've done already to support that, rather than looking at what's still missing, what isn't there. So I hope you guys are getting where I'm going with this idea. You know, there's a lot of scary stuff in the news right now. There's a lot of scary stuff everywhere. But in every age in history, there's been something scary. And the human, as it turns its attention towards its happiness, even in the smallest degree, starts to shift that focus, which shifts their experience. So I think that's what this full moon has to offer us in Aquarius, with this alignment to Jupiter, to really ask if this belief I have is a habit, and a habit that I get to break. That's where I'm going with this. Thank you, Teresa. I love you all back. So I was kind of excited about this, honestly. It made me feel a lot better. It made me feel like I was standing in my own shoes instead of the shoes that somebody gave me. Okay, so that's where I'm going with all of that. This is the other thing I want to mention. Uranus is going to make a trine to Mars this week. This is why I'm going back to that fifth dimension song, because Uranus in Taurus making a trine to Mars in Virgo, I think liberates us from that slavery. So that just seems to confirm to me that, I'm sorry. Was that last week? I don't even care if it was last week, because Uranus is a slow moving planet. So there's still some aspects going on here, because I think this is all about liberating ourselves, and not with the focus on releasing what didn't work, where we have not felt loved, where we've felt alienated or isolated, but rather looking at how we've evolved to claiming our happiness, or at least being able to look at ourselves and say, I want to move this direction. I want to feel these things more succinctly, more rooted. Okay, so that's where I'm going with all of that. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Stephen. It's good to see you. We missed you last week. I'm missing quite a few of our regulars. I think, Uranus, every once in a while, you break up the routine. So I'm kind of hope everybody that used to be here every Sunday is now out having some fun on their Sundays, that we've been released from our bondage. And I want to welcome all the new people in. So thank you for being here. Okay, let's start with our Pisces. And I want to talk about this too, because I think a lot of the focus might be too is what house is this happening for you in? Because when I looked at where I'm an Aries rising, so this is happening in my 11th house, and my hopes and my dreams are never really going to be fulfilled while I'm chasing the approval of people who will never approve of my hopes and dreams. That's the liberation. Quit banging your head against the wall, because that's where you're, Teresa, not Teri, because Teri's evolved. That's where Teresa's stubborn Taurus moon wants that validation before it will allow the happiness in. That's not their fault. That's me in my own way. So I'm just kidding. All right, so let's start with our Pisces as usual, and we're going to work our way towards Aries and see what Spirit wants you to focus in on this week, or wants to encourage you to focus in on this week, because you always have choice. And let's go. So here we go. Starting with our angel deck. Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And let me say this again to remind you guys, stelliums are so powerful. I recently did a reading for someone who had like 6 planets in one house, and this really dominated their experience here on Earth and made them a highly sensitive person. And even though their sun could potentially be in a different place, that stellium, very important. So pay attention. All right, here we go. Whoop. Because no matter the house that this is happening, because in Pisces, it's the 12th house, which is the house of isolation, the house of retreats and spas, the house of hospitals, the house of ancestors, the house of past lives. So, you could take this energy and take it into the dynamic of, I need to focus in on what I need to release, or you could take that and use that house as the house of I dream. Okay, here we go. And I say moon before I say sun, and even starting to think it even before the rising, because we manifest on our emotional body. And if we feel crappy, That's how we manifest. All right, here we go. Our first angel for Pisces is Serena, the angel of abundance. The second is Azure in our opportunity or our obstacle. The third is Astera in the angel's advice. And the final is Celeste in the potential outcome. And for those of you that have been putting comments in, I want to thank you. I'm trying to be more intentional about responding to your comments, but I've luckily been so busy. It's kind of hard between shooting videos for Lotta's channel and my channel and my clients. So I want you to know I read them all and I send you love as I'm reading them. So thank you. Okay. Serena, the angel of abundance, is being joined by the perception card. Azure is being joined by Merlin. Astera is being joined by the eagle, and Celeste is being joined by the owl. Okay, so this really is about, focus. And focus, this is what I want to say, because sometimes when people go, oh, focus on the positive, focus on what's good in your life. That is hard to do. It's like when you're super, super worried about something, it gets like a momentum going. So I want to offer it this way. I don't think it's almost like pretending you're having a panic attack. It's like becoming present before you try to move into a place where you're imagining good things are happening when it feels like the sky is falling in. Because for Pisces, Serena is the angel of abundance. And she says that this abundance comes as you become more serene in your ability to realize that you are co-creating. You're not 100% creating. You're creating with spirit, and you're also creating through your focus by attracting in the resources and the people that will support your abundance. And this is where your perception card comes in, Pisces, because I think this is a time. Look at Serena. Her eyes are closed. She's really relaxed. I think this is where Pisces takes that I dream. Maybe even going into a place that feels a little bit like a cocoon or a little bit like I want to put it like almost a meditation space, and almost allowing yourself to imagine a beam coming up over your head and attracting not just money. Resources is a very good word, because Merlin is the angel of abundance. I'm sorry, that's not correct. Merlin represents alchemy, balance, and justice. And Azure is saying that your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. Force is a form of worry, and worry is a form of prayer that does not serve you, because it puts your attention and intention in the very experience you don't want to have. So this is why lately I always listen to Abraham. I'm a big laws of attraction girl, big laws of allowing girl. I absolutely watch it manifest in my life. So this is where Lucky comes back in. And for those of you that don't know who Lucky is, he's my dog. And I swear to you, that dog has the patience of Job. He will stare at me and send me pictures of his treats in his brain. And I look at him and I'm like, no, you've had enough. You've had enough. And then next thing you know, I'm going and getting him what he wants. And yes, some people could say he's spoiled, but honestly, he doesn't pout. He just looks at me as if I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. And it's just the most perfect law of attraction. And then I become source energy for him. And it just reminds me over and over again how I can do that. Because Pisces, Astera is saying, reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and don't compromise. And the eagle is about connection to the angelic realm. Your ancient ruler, Jupiter, is the connection to the angelic realm. Because Celeste, while it on the face of the card says a new home or a new place of employment is in the works, you can take me anywhere I think a certain way. And I'm going to take my actions based on that thought. So this to me is not about moving my body, but shifting my perspective to be able to see the wisdom of the interaction of unknowingness and walking into knowingness, or being in fear and walking into faith. And I want to offer it this way. I had a client here a couple of weeks ago who has a great acronym for fear. It's face everything and rise. Because I really feel like the biggest thing about this blue moon right now is not a letting go full moon energy. It's about liberating yourself from an old dynamic that you were living that you have actually evolved past. And as I say that, for everyone in the audience, I want to offer this. Don't work on your wounded inner child, because your inner child is not actually wounded. It is the adult in you that looks back at the deprivation of the child and then feels bad about it. So really the wounded is the adult that didn't get what it wanted as a child. So now maybe your job is to give yourself permission to rewrite that story. Okay, I can't help but catch Artist 999. I'm so sorry to hear about the loss of your fur baby. That just breaks my heart, honestly. But I also know that all dogs go to heaven. I know that they come back. And I just heard in my head that you will hear the sound of your dog's collar in your house clinking for some reason. That's going to be letting you know that your dog is still with you. Okay, a little side thing, little message from beyond. All right, let's go on to our Aquariuses. Aquarius, this is in your first house of self. And I'm doing this off the top of my head, so bear with me. But this full moon, and it's that second full moon. And I think this is about really kicking into that 29th degree of intuition and starting to really allow yourself to start to stretch that in the way that trust it gets validated. Trust it, it gets validated. Because that's going to take you where no man has gone before. All right, here we go. Aquarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And if for some reason your moon is making an aspect to this full moon, or it is on the same degree, this is really powerful. And again, I want to say the power doesn't lie in trying to let go of something, but being able to step into even the smallest vibration of what it will feel like when you're standing and living the energy you want to live. Okay. All right, Aquarius, our first angel is Angel of Protection, Xana. Our second is Serena, the angel of abundance. Then we have Merlina in the angel's advice. And then we have Oceana. I'm going to have that fifth dimension. I'm going to have the Age of Aquarius stuck in my head all day today. I can feel it. I'm already hearing the chorus over and over again. Let the sun shine in. Because this is where I'm going with this. When I say that, I almost feel like we have to realize that if we're going to let the sun truly shine in, we're going to have to let some of these oppressive structures we've been living with that seem normal break away. All right, Aquarius. Joining Xana, the angel of protection, is the movement card. Joining Serena is the cat. Joining Merlina is the death card. And joining Oceana is the love card. Wow. Okay. This is super, super fun in some ways. Okay, so Xana is the angel of protection. This is not just physical protection, but emotional protection, spiritual protection. And then there's the movement card. And when I look at this, I don't necessarily think this is physical movement as much as it feels like what I was talking about earlier about acknowledging your own evolution and recognizing that some of your emotional responses are habitual and that you may not actually feel that way anymore. So when you take a little bit of a pause, I feel like you're going to start to feel more serene and independent about the situation. This is a full moon. This is a blue moon. Something is coming to fruition. Something is coming to culmination. And I think this is in layers like the ring of a tree. So it's also on our world stage, our communal stages, our various countries. So allowing yourself to connect with spirit and knowing that as God takes care of your abundance, and this is much more than money, okay? This is ease of mind that knows you're a co-creator. And when you're not sitting in worry, fear, and resistance, things come more easily to you. They seem to appear out of nowhere. And that's when we have 9 lives and we start to really have healthy boundaries about what we want versus what we think is possible. Because Merlina talks about a period of confusion and then the transformation. And the transformation is the opportunity to feel more serene. When I first started working for myself, I had no plan. I'm just a crazy Aries rising, and I just freaking got mad one day and I was like, bam, I quit my job. But I didn't do it without having been sitting in a vibration of who I really was. I'd been doing psychic fairs. I'd been working part-time in a bookstore that did psychic readings. So I had built up a certain momentum. And then it came time to trust that momentum. Because I think, Aquarius, it's time to trust the momentum. And this love card doesn't feel like it's love of another person, but love of your own emotional body, your own willingness to be unique. And to, when I always think of Star Trek. When I think of Aquarius, I think of all the shows I watch, on the science channels and the history channels. And it's really the explorer. And we can put ourselves and our physical bodies in foreign environments and call that exploration. But the real exploration of the human is the one that goes into the cave that Yoda asks Luke Skywalker to go in. And as he battles the big dark demon of Darth Vader and ultimately slices his head off as it falls to the ground, Luke, that's his face. So he slayed his own fears, which then makes him a powerful Jedi because he trusts the serenity of his connection to spirit. There's another episode of Star Wars, and there's an Asian character. I can't remember. He's blind. He's quite handsome because his eyes are like blue, ice blue. And he says, I am with the Force is with me. And he goes into battle completely like as if he was, all together. It's another example. So anyway, all right, let's go on to Capricorn. I'll be talking about Star Wars stuff all day long. I used to be kind of embarrassed about all the television and pop music I listened to, thinking I should study deeper things, but boy, does it come in handy. Okay, here we go. On to our Capricorns, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, my little baby goats. Good, Stephen. There's little shifts in our verbiage that can really help us align our vibration to our co-creation. Most of us, when we go through our everyday lives, I got to go to the store. I have to go pick up my kids. I have to get dinner. Change the word have to get. I get to go to the store. I get to pick up my kids. And as you start to do that, you bring in this vibration of opportunity throughout your day. So, Stephen, I say that because you get to work on your brand. And it's inspiring. That's what this moon is all about. The 11th house, Aquarius, is all about I aspire, I hope, and I dream. That too. Don't forget that. All right, Capricorn, hope and dream. Let's see what's happening. Our first angel is Athena in the foundational position. The second is Azure. The third is Opal. And the final is Indriel. I'm going to tell you guys a funny story about Lucky after this reading, because he does this funny thing in the morning. Okay, Capricorn. I think Athena is interesting because you have no trouble really asserting yourself most of the time, but this is about lovingly asserting yourself. Athena is being joined by the cat. Azure is being joined by the focus card. Opal is being joined by Merlin. And Indriel is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. Capricorn naturally represents leadership and structure and authority. And Saturn rules it. And I swear to you, Saturn has been having conversations with me because I know through Greek mythology or through mythology, period, Saturn ate his children and he's this terrible, mean daddy of all the gods. He is asking to be transformed. He's like, you know what? I'm not always mean. And how many times does a parent do something for their children and their children think they're evil, but they're really protecting their children? This is where I'm going with this. Because I think that Saturn sometimes holds us, our feet to the fire to make a choice. And if we're going to make that choice, Saturn wants us to be diligent, work hard, and be tenacious in that choice. But he doesn't tell us what choice we should make. So As you lovingly assert yourself, Capricorn, into your own independent idea of what you want for yourself, you start to take all that drive, all that tenacity, all that discipline and stoic behavior and start aligning it to what you want for yourself, because it's going to give you new life. And I mean that not just in your material world, but also in your aspire world, in your inspired world, because Azure is saying that your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith. And then there's the focus card. So often the human thinks, I have a problem, I must address it. I must stare at it. I must look at it. And if I don't see the solution with my eyes, then I need to be even more worried about it. That is the absolute opposite energy. Yes, the identification of an issue is important, but the openness to the solution is even more important, because that's what I think this is about, Capricorn. Because inadvertently, your habit will be to focus on the problem, focus on the problem, focus on the problem, and never realize how you're bringing this problem into your own world. Because now is a time to start to trust God and the angels. Saturn as your father, as your benevolent father that is really watching out for you. And if indeed you're pursuing, as I hit myself in the face, pursuing a career, a love relationship, or any path that doesn't serve you, Saturn may let you fall down so that you will rise, so that you will see that it's important for you to shift, because there's a rebirth coming. That's why I say this. A birth and a rebirth. What does the full moon offer? It offers us such a bright light on a situation or a dynamic that needs renovation, or that gives us an opportunity for renovation. And I want to offer this for my Capricorns, because this is through the epiphany that as you lovingly assert yourself towards what you want for your own, what makes you happy, what moves you towards fulfillment. I really sort of adopted this idea of the small things. When I know it sounds silly, but when Lucky stares at me and he wants something, I become so amused at his patience and his tenacity. And he doesn't whine, he doesn't bark, he doesn't even pout. He just stares at me and sends me a picture. Focus. Your desired outcome will happen in the near future, Capricorn. Have patience and faith, and don't try to push on it. That's where I'm going. Okay. So the one thing I want to tell you about Lucky was in the morning. He's such a funny creature, because he lays on the bed in complete sleep while he watches me get dressed to go get our coffee. He knows we're going to go for our walk. I go get his leash. I bring it to the bed, and he rolls over on his back. He doesn't get up to get in the leash, and I have to kiss him from his head all the way down to his bottom before he will stand up to put the leash on. It's so cute. These are the moments that I grab onto. These moments of this adorableness happening, so that I can remember that there's a lot of good things in my life. And sometimes I only focus on the huge things that should happen, the really big things. Think about it, Capricorn. You rule the 10th house. So maybe sometimes you want everyone to see all the good things, and maybe it's just for you. It's just this moment for you. Okay. I was going to tell you something else, but I forgot what it was. I'll remember later. All right, let's go on to our Sagittarius. Kate, that's awesome. I didn't see your first comment, but this is exactly the thing I'm talking about. Even if you don't know what the solution is, it'll all work out. It'll all work out. It'll all work out. And sometimes, you know what? Hindsight, they say is 20/20. And sometimes when things don't work out, it's because something better is actually aligned. All right, here we go. Sagittarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, our first angel is Serena. Wow, everybody is about abundance right now. Then we have the Layla, we have Celeste, and then we have Azure. Wow, you guys, this is very exciting. You watch me shuffle. This is where the collective comes in. This is where the main theme is all the same for us, and yet it's individual as of our focus. Okay, here we go. I think the main thing Serena is saying is really about being relaxed, about allowing yourself to sit in the solution. And then the wealth card joins Serena. I love it. Okay, and the Grail Knight is joining Layla. Celeste is being joined by the Joy card. And Azure's being joined by the Frog. Welcome, Soap Opera Love in the Afternoon podcast. I love my soap operas. I do. Okay, here we go. Sagittarius. Serena is the angel of abundance. And I want to offer this because the main key to this abundance is her serene attitude. And when we think about abundance, oftentimes we will think about money. I want to take money off the table right now, and I want to start thinking of it as harmonious wealth of resources. Sometimes things will come into play that money is really not the solution. It would be a temporary solution, whereas other dynamics, relationships with people, opportunities to stretch yourself can come in. And I want to say it this way because on some level, this idea of this 29-degree full moon, blue moon in Aquarius up against your ruling planet gives you an opportunity to shift your beliefs into more of an alignment that not only is this something you want, but something that is achievable and something you deserve. Something you deserve. Because Layla is in the opportunity or the obstacle, and she talks about telling spirit about my desires. But when I look at the Grail Knight, I think like Sagittarius, this is about bowing down to the truth that you deserve as much as anybody else. To feel happy, to feel supported, to feel a sense of harmonious wealth. Harmonious wealth for me is feeling comfortable. It's like not having the monkey mind going blah, 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 blah all the time. It's way, way bigger than money. And here it is. Celeste in the Angel's Advice is saying shift. You have an opportunity to shift, and so much more joy will come into your experience. And that joy will come because you've relaxed about it. And in doing so, you've realized that the human experience will always have a certain amount of emotional baggage. It's pre-wired into the DNA, the whole system. I never personally had children, but I've been around a lot of babies, and all babies are a little bit different, and this to me is an indication of the soul inhabiting a human experience. So as we give life to that idea that we come under this illusion, but part of our experience is to allow for the greatest happiness, the greatest joy, versus constantly looking outside of ourselves to see if people are validating our happiness or our joy. There's something about this that's saying what you want will happen, but you've got to leap off the lily pad of somebody else's story of you and to start to connect to spirit in a way that's more authentic to the truth of who you are. Okay, let's go on to Scorpio. It's so muggy here. It's like, it looks like it should be like 40 degrees outside, and it's really like 70 something and humid and sweaty. Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh, I got into this whole thing on the Nextdoor app with this woman who was like defending giving her a dog away. Like, they're not children. You could give a dog away. I'm like, it's an emotional creature person. I can't even imagine giving my dog away. I love him so much. He's so great. Okay. And I can't imagine, again, my condolences to the woman who lost her pooch this week. I shouldn't say lost. That's not fair. Who transitioned. Okay. Oh, sending lots of cool air to you, Astro Ascension. All right, here we go. Scorpio, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Serena. Oh my goodness. Then angel Shanti. Then we have Layla. And we have Bridget. Oh, my little Scorpio detectives. Okay, as I was getting ready this morning, I was thinking about Scorpio, and the Aquarius moon, and how often Aquarius will say, oh, I always feel so alien. I don't feel like I'm part of this planet. And I thought, I don't know. I think Scorpio may even in some respects be a little bit more challenged because they see that what people won't talk about. They see the imbalance where people are like that mask commercial, you know, I'm not depressed, I'm happy. Scorpio will see right through that crap. And that might be hard to do because people will be like, no, that's not true. He's like, oh yeah, it is. No, it's not. And that's when Scorpio gets pissed off. Like, don't lie to me. I know the truth when I see it. I'm ruled by Pluto and Mars. All right, Serena's being joined by the Truth card. Thank you very much. Shanti's being joined by the Restriction card. Layla's being joined by the Bee. And Bridget's being joined by the Wealth card. Okay, this is the first thing I got from my Scorpios. You know the truth. You'll always kind of know the truth if you're willing to let your intuition lead you and not your mind. But I want to offer it this way because I think it's time to be serene with the truth. I have found that as an intuitive, when I would know something, and I'm Mars ruled as an Aries, I would be like, okay, this is it. Let me just tell you how I got it. Okay. And people are just like, would bristle up against me and say, I don't know things. As my wisdom kicked in, I realized the truth of my timing and when it would be palatable or open energy for me to speak my truth. Because if you know something about a situation or about yourself or about your partner or about your work situation that is uncomfortable, if this full moon is illuminating something that is out of balance, I think there's a serene aspect that you have to have about it. Rather than pulling your stinker out right away, it's almost about allowing that deeper part of you to reveal something that your intuition is trying to tell you, but there's that part of you that wants to push forward. Because if you're going to have peace, Scorpio, you got to take a pause. You got to take a pause because it's not just what you know, it's how what you know is received on the other side. I don't know why I'm putting it this way, but this is how it's coming through for me. Because Layla is asking in the Angel's advice for Scorpio to really sit in their connection to spirit and be aware of their being energy. Not only what you believe about a situation, but to take a second look, because I believe that there's a good chance Scorpio has evolved past their initial reaction. And if you've been one of those Scorpios who's been slimed by your stinger, like people are always telling you that you're too harsh or you're too this or that, it's time for you to claim yourself as, I'm really only show up like that when a deep truth is being denied and I feel like you're trying to tell me I don't know what I know. But this is where peace comes in, because sometimes humans won't let you know what you know. Because if you're going to be happy, it's time to look deeper into a situation. And the deepness is not about being right anymore, because you're probably already right. But it may be a situation where being right isn't going to serve your happiness. I have Neptune and Mercury in the 8th house of Scorpio. And for the longest time, none of my planets, when you would talk about them, looked like intuition until you get deeper into astrology and see it's all over my chart. But I knew things all the time. And people used to tell me all the time, what do you know? And then I would get a little aggressive. I'm like, don't tell me I don't know what I know. It didn't serve me. It only isolated me. So this is really where I want to go. There's an illumination from this full moon. And it started at the end of July, where Scorpio was knowing a deeper truth, if not even before that. But now it's about being serene with it so spirit can start to bring in balance in the situation. And so you don't actually disrupt your peace, but rather give it a pause so that peace can come through and you can stand in the truth of your really evolved being energy, a calmer sense of self, because you've looked deeper and you realize the person on the other side is never, ever going to acknowledge whatever it is that is true. Because there are people like that. Like, no, didn't happen. No, I'm not that way. And you keep trying to convince them they are, and you'll just, get so frustrated. All right, let's go into our Libras. And I started thinking about, I'm all over the place. So I started the broadcast talking about listening to the fifth dimension's Age of Aquarius. I wondered what that seventh house was, because it says when the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter aligns with Mars. What seventh house do we think that is? Be curious to know. Welcome, Brianna. Welcome, Look Up Watchman Andrews. Whoa. This is some new names in that. Welcome, Layla. Okay, here we go. Yes, Kish. Said I go backwards. I start at Pisces and work my way towards Aries, and we are on Libra right now. And I'm trying to give it a good shuffle because it looks like we're seeing the same thing, meaning Serena's coming out over and over. Good morning, Mia. All right. Here we go. Our first angel is Layla Libra. The second is Grace and Antoinette. The third is Akasha. And the final is Aurora. Layla is being joined by Merlin Libra. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Goblin. Akasha is being joined by the Trust card. And Aurora is being joined by the Restriction card. Well, this is interesting. Libra's my sun. Merlin is the angel of, or Merlin is the energy of alchemy, justice, and balance. And Layla is, talks about connecting with spirit and talking about my intentions, about what I want. And it's interesting because as I look at this, for some reason, I'm getting this feeling that Libra is in an anticipatory energy, almost as if Libra is looking ahead. There's been a lot of stuff in the news, from invasions and takeovers and evacuations and retreats and masks and blah, 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 blah. If we look at that too much, it's going to start to trigger all the darkness. Because when I go into the opportunity or the obstacle, I feel as if the Goblin is really representing edging God out. And Grace and Antoinette is asking you to have compassion, because there's a wisdom to this chapter of humanity. While it seems very scary and disruptive, if as humans more and more claim the truth of what the soul comes to this planet for, which is to be able to be free to create, to allow ourselves to express ourselves without another person's agenda. History is riddled with humans abusing humans for their own agendas. I'll just continue to use that word. And I think this is about Libra allowing themselves to see that sometimes it is through the dark that the light is most palatable. The light is most seen, because I think we're going to be going through some challenges. You know, we still have one more big Uranus-Saturn square coming. It's going to be in the holidays. And I do think that a part of this full moon will polarize our beliefs about certain dynamics. And as a result of that, people tend to villainize one another. I'm right and you're wrong. So Libra, I feel like what's going on is that you're not in a personal situation of this, but feeling this as a collective, and it's making you feel defeated or deflated in some way. And Spirit is asking you to trust a bigger picture, because here's the Trust card and Akasha, the spiritual teacher. And I think that as you have compassion for those that are edging out a bigger picture, the ego does not, I feel so reticent to villainize the ego as if there is a dark part of myself. There's no dark part of me. It's just the part of me that is unsure, the part of me that wants security. And that's when the ego comes in, and I'm edging God out. And now it's time to have compassion for myself as I walk through this dark corridor into the light. Because Aurora says you're flying high right now. That may threaten others, but don't descend. And I think what this is about a thought box. You know, it's about a way of thinking. And the Restriction card to me is not about restriction. It's about taking a pause, so that sometimes when we adopt a certain dynamic, if we go in and we try to convince others that that dynamic is valid, we actually inadvertently invalidate it. So I think this is about just holding space. I think this is about knowing that there's a bigger picture going on right now in this world, that we're allowing ourselves an opportunity to evolve into more accepting places. Because I feel like as we are given the permissions or give ourselves permissions to express ourselves, then we understand and want to give those permissions to other people. Meaning, I got you. I'm good with your uniqueness because I'm glad you're good with mine. So I think this has been a little hard on Libra right now. And I think that there is a part of this full moon, or not a part of it, but this culmination that's coming that knows that one chapter is ending. And rather than being afraid of that chapter ending, I think it's time to get excited about it and looking at what, I'm interrupting myself, but every good romantic comedy starts off with the setup of two people meeting, and then there's a big crisis, right? In the end of the second act. And then we go into the third act, we solve the crisis, and the couple goes happily into ever after. I think that's what we're doing here. Will there always be challenges? Yes. But are those challenges, when they're in the lane of our passions, our aspirations, and our desires, they're great. I don't mind those challenges because they empower me, they inspire me, and they make me feel achievement. So I'm going in. All right. Thank you so much for listening to me go on and on, Libra. I'm going to head on to Virgo now. Pardon me. Oh, look up Watchmen. Did you look up the Fifth Dimension's Age of Aquarius? I'm so excited. I don't know how old you are, but I clearly have told you how old I am by that reference of song. But what can I say? Virgo rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Thank you very much. Welcome. Just call me C. Sama, thank you for coming. Lulu, thank you. Good to see so many new people. All right, Virgo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. In our foundational position, we have the angel Fiona. In the opportunity or the obstacle, we have Aurora. In the angel's advice, we have Seraphina. And in the final position, we have Archangel Uriel. It's funny, as I started to shuffle for Virgo, the first thing I felt was that there's the potential to have this blue moon really kind of have a culmination of this intense. I felt like I heard that you'll be released from the bondage of your own worry. Thank you, Jenny B. Because worry really is a form of prayer that doesn't serve me. And sometimes inadvertently, especially kind of if you have a Virgo stellium, you may defend your worry. Like, come on, look, it's right here. It's in the 3D world. Don't you see it? I don't care if it's in the 3D world, Virgo. You're going to have to start to shift off of it because that worry is like a magnet. And Archangel Uriel is ready to move the magnet and start to attract something you like. Aquafina. You're so funny, Stephen. Fiona is being joined by the communications card. Aurora is being joined by the goblin. Exactly. Seraphina is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. And Archangel Uriel is being joined by the wasp. Okay. This is a little bit challenging. I'm not going to say it isn't, but I think it's an illumination. I really do. I want to offer this for Virgo. If you've been worried about your health, if you've been worried about your job, if you have been focusing in on any dynamic that is uncomfortable, unpleasant, obligatory, that you feel like you must do because other people expect of you, I think it's time to start to talk to God and the angels and start to tell a new story. Because you are sort of, in some ways, and I say this lovingly, you're participating in your own obligation. You're participating in your own uncomfortable situation. And I want to offer it this way because in the final position is Archangel Uriel and the wasp. Something has got you feeling upset, I'll say that. But I also feel like Virgo might feel slightly abused by others. Again, Virgo represents slavery. And if you're the slave, then you may be feeling like your master or your employer or somebody who holds authority over you is abusing you in some way. And I feel like this is an opportunity for Virgo to start to shift into a place where I start communicating to spirit in a bigger way. I can't do this anymore. Thank you for bringing something new into my experience. Because part of the challenge, Virgo, God bless you, is that you're so, in some ways, your ego is going to tell you, if you don't do something about this, it's not going to change. And I think, oh, no, don't go there. First, you have to start with the interior. Inspired action, not worried action, because that's what Aurora represents. Let your ego stop edging God out and listen for inspirations. The first inspiration is to take a pause, to allow this full moon to illuminate your beliefs about a situation, because it's a conjunct Jupiter, and then allowing your beliefs to evolve. Maybe, sometimes in work situations, we build relationships with people that make us feel loyal to them. And while we love those people, they don't have control over paying us more money, or they don't have control over our abundance. And so we inadvertently diminish our ability to prosper because we feel obligated to that relationship, because we want people in some ways to mirror that for us, to be authentic with us and to support us. I think Virgo's going to have to rethink it, and you're going to have to make yourself a priority. I watch Big Brother, and, I don't know if you watch Big Brother, but I love it. And recently, or a few weeks ago, this girl, Claire, had a choice between getting immunity for herself or giving the house a reward. And that immunity would take her all the way to jury. She had the wherewithal to take the immunity. And everybody in the house agreed, if I was in the same position, I should take care of me and then be better suited to take care of others. Virgo, this full moon feels like it's about the culmination of anything you feel enslaved to that isn't really authentic to what makes you happy. And rather than being angry and feeling like I have to do this, otherwise other people will be disappointed in me, let's give you an opportunity to say maybe not. Because it's time for you to receive. I couldn't stop Virgo on that energy. It's too challenging. The Queen is about reception. It's about things coming to you, not forcing them. And that's a hard habit, because being Mercurial ruled and being the natural sign of service, you're going to kind of default into this obligatory energy. And it may feel very uncomfortable to realize that obligation is not serving you. That's where I'm going. All right, let's go on to our Leos. Why do I want to sing when I don't know. I don't know. I tell you, I don't know. All right, here we go. Leo, rising, sun, moon, and stelliums. Hey, and I should say welcome to Virgo season. I didn't even think about it. I think we just started Virgo season. Is that today? Oh, Astro Ascension. I get it, man. I totally get it. And now as you start to align to the idea, thank you, Spirit, for bringing in these breadcrumbs that'll start to show me that as I trust you, you're leading me out of a situation and into something more aligned to my truth. And I want to offer this to everybody before I go on to Leo. Sorry, Juan. We are going through a period of time right now that Spirit has shown me that many, many people are going to experience their greatest satisfaction in their professional life, their greatest love in their intimate life, and their most abundance and happiness as they get into these later chapters of life, because we're rewriting the aging process as well as the rest of the structures on this planet right now. So as you trust that, and then you allow yourself to emotionally first move towards it and then take inspired action, you will start to fulfill your contract. And that's where I love how Lada teaches about the Upachaya houses and how they give benefit in the later chapters. So here we go. Leo, Rising moon, sun, and stellars. Our first angel is Akasha, the teacher. The second is Daniel, the angel of marriage and partnership. The third is Shanti, the angel of peace. And then we have Maya, the angel of schooling and education. Well, Astro Ascension, I hope you enjoy your transition into South Carolina. I've wanted to go to South Carolina for a while. I love the South for some reason. I have been there limited. I lived in North Carolina. I've been to Savannah. Been around. But I kind of think I'd like to live there someday. I don't know when that'll come. We'll see. All right. Akasha is being joined by the Queen, my Leos. Daniel is being joined by the Love card. Wow. Shanti's being joined by the Horse. And Maya's being joined by the Bear. Okay, Leo. Thank you, Small Wildflowers. It's really Leo time. All right. You know, I want to say this about my Leos because Akasha is the spiritual teacher and the Queen represents reception, the feminine. It represents feminine energy, yes, but it also represents fertility and the idea that things grow around the Queen effortlessly. And I think this is an opportunity for Leo to see that in some ways. We are not, as a Leo, you know, oftentimes people will see you come into a room because your sun shines so bright, but that doesn't mean you always feel bright and shiny. And I feel like this is an opportunity for you, because I'm going to go to the final position. I think this is about what I was talking about in the beginning, about starting to rewrite your history and paying attention to how, if I focus on the old story, I continue to bring it into my experience. Because for my Leos that rule romance, this is the angel of love and the angel of partnership. And I believe that this is an opportunity for those of you that are single to potentially engage in a relationship or the newness of a relationship, but also, more importantly, to look at your story in love. Because once you become triggered into the vulnerability of actually liking somebody else, sometimes we start to think, uh-oh, and we go into old habits of thought. So this is both my opportunity and my obstacle. And that obstacle is I don't win in love. Because now it's time to go in a new direction and think, you know what? As long as I pay attention to my inner rudder, my inner knowing, I feel that sense of peace. And now I've learned how to make my history work for me instead of tanking me. Instead of being the old story, bad story that I bring into this situation, before I actually invest my Leo heart into this situation, I will start to look for the intuitive alignment. There's a strong energy that between, I used to think it was mostly females, but I'm seeing it with males as well, where there's the journey of love has become so jaded and so jagged with all its twists and turns that inadvertently we kind of expect that. We expect if somebody seems great for somehow the rug to fall out from underneath us. I don't think that's necessarily true, and it's time to start to rewrite that story. And, you know, I'm using the basics of man and woman, but, you know, if you're a man who loves a man or a woman who loves a woman or whatever your story is, it's all basically the same parameters. It's time for Leo to start to receive and learn from the reception of love, because it's time to rewrite your old story. As I learned from that, I've evolved. And now what I want is to stand in the energy of peace in partnership, neither surrendering my power nor dominating. And in doing so, I start living the enchantment of the story. And then I stand in leadership for others. All right, let's go on to our Cancers. Hi, Kitty. Welcome. Oh, Myrtle Beach is awesome. I love the name of Myrtle Beach even. So welcome, Shavanda. High Priestess 10. Sun and Rising Aquarian. Oh, wow. This is your moon, baby. Okay. Cancer, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Oceana. Second is Rosetta. The third is Archangel Raphael. And the final is Seraphina. Joining Oceana is the Wealth card. Joining Rosetta is the Bee card. Joining Archangel Raphael is the Trust card. And joining Seraphina is the Ego. I'll tell you, I've had a lot of clients lately that really are looking forward to partnering up and starting their lives. They're at that age where they want to have families and picket fences. And literally I have people like, when? And I try to explain to them that timing isn't something I have control over. Spirit doesn't even have control over the timing of something in some ways. Your attention to what you want, your willingness to allow that to come in is how to speed things up. So this is where I'm going with Cancer. Oceana is saying to take action on your gut. And you know what? If anything, Oceana, you rule the oceans, Cancer. I mean, really. And there's where your harmonious wealth lies. Because I feel like it's time for you to stop asking when and starting to say, it's happening. And now I'm going to enjoy every single moment that I have, because once I have a partnership, every time I go to the bathroom, somebody could walk in the bathroom and make a comment about what's going on in there. Or if I'm, having a rough night's sleep, someone's going to comment as to whether I'm snoring. So my point is this, is like, make fun of your singleness right now. If you want to be in a relationship, enjoy those moments of privacy, because relationship is coming. And part of it is you relaxing, honestly, like in a place of trusting and believing. So allow this full moon in Aquarius, this blue moon, to truly say to yourself, yes, it's in your 8th house, Layla. And I mean, to me, that's about giving this rebirth. It's almost about letting that 8th house dig deeper into what is not seen with the eyes, but felt with the heart. Because for Cancer, I feel so strongly that you want all of those markers. And now this worry, this anxiety, this, oh, my eggs are dying, or time is passing me by, or everybody's the wrong person. This story is not serving you, because now is time to have a much more open and a much more trusting being energy, to know that you will be victorious. And I want to offer it this way, because being in a partnership with someone that is not aligned to you is a nightmare. It's not. It's not a good thing. And so this is kind of where you have to sit back a little bit and say, I don't just want to be with anyone. I want to be with somebody who we enjoy each other's company. We enjoy each other's differences as well as our similarities. We laugh easily together. I really think that this is about digging deeper for Cancer into the dynamics of what partnership feels like, what family feels like, what home and hearth feels like. And rather than looking at it from a longing, like, oh, it's more like, oh, cool, I know this is coming. And I just get to sit in that vibration of trust and illumination that the truth of my heart supersedes what's happening in my experience. Because here's Seraphina, the angel of happy families, and there's the connection to the angelic realm. I must repeat that Spirit has shown me over and over and over again that many of us, especially like Mustard, you're at that sweet age of your late 30s, which is a beautiful time to embark on these, all the way into your early 40s. And women have been having babies forever and a day at that age. It isn't until this modern time that we've suddenly started to view this as a challenge. So I want to offer you, as you start to step into this full moon's energy of liberating yourself from the outside views and start trusting the inner knowing, the mother ocean that runs through you, then you'll start to draw that experience in more rapidly. Because I want to offer this too. I feel like for some of my Cancers, the relationships will happen like literally overnight. It feels to me like if you have been wanting to be in a relationship, that you'll be like single, and then you'll meet somebody and it'll be like, And then, we met and there we went. Always spent the rest of our time together. So be open to that. Now, let me take my Cancers who have been in a relationship, or even those that don't want a relationship at all. I think that this is more about your being energy of trusting that your home, your hearth, your wants, your desires, what makes you feel at home, that's the way I want to put it, is viable. And it's something that you get to define for you versus what may be expected. Cancer is a very traditional feeling to me, that traditional Norman Rockwell, Hallmark, Lifetime, not the crazy movies on Lifetime. So I just feel like let this full moon be where you declare that inner intuition. I'm going to trust that. I know that my enjoyment, my peace, my feeling of home and hearth is if it hasn't come already, it is lining up. And part of it is my perspective and my willingness to go there. Okay. 1111, what a wonderful number that is. Mimi Yuguni, so I think that's a lot about other people, people getting to take on new roles, going from mother to grandmother. So you let yourself define that for you, because being born on 11/11, you get to rule your own thoughts. And Layla, yes, see, your mom had her last baby at 42. I remember my brother-in-law's mother saying that she was embarrassed that she had a baby in her 40s because everybody knew she was having sex. And I thought, well, isn't that cool? Because everybody nowadays would be applauding you. So anything is possible. Truly it is when we align to it. And I want to offer this before I go on to Gemini. If you were to think about the amount of time that you spend worrying about what you want to experience and the lack thereof versus the amount of time you spend in faith or in invitation to that experience, are your results fair? Because if you're being honest, you're focused on lack more than you're focused on abundance. And I know this because I do this in my own life, and I literally see it compartmentalized, where certain areas of my life I feel totally abundant and it just comes and comes and comes. And then other areas of my life I feel not abundant, criticized and judged. And sure enough, when I focus on that, it shows up as well. So I remember I'm 61, Kate. So this was 1959 when this woman was pregnant in her 40s. So she may have felt a little more, she should be like Donna Reed. This is when they didn't even show a toilet on TV, and married couples slept in twin beds in the same room. I know, it's funny. Nowadays, people be applauding her like, go girl, go girl. Okay, here we go. Gemini, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I'm going to tell you a quick story about that. When my mother, I call her my mother-in-law, because I loved my brother-in-law's mom to death. And when she passed away, we were looking through old photos, and there was a photo of her and her husband. It was at Christmas time. I think it was like December 22nd or something like that. And she's standing behind him. They both had their martinis. They both had a cigarette. It was a really typical 50s picture. And I start counting, and I looked at my brother-in-law and I go, this is the night you were conceived. And you should see his face. He was so horrified by the idea. And look, but this time we're old people, okay? But I'm like, no, look at it and do the math. And it just made me laugh so hard because I loved this woman. She had a way of, she was a Pisces. So she had a way of being able to, kind of work a crowd. Everybody kind of felt like they knew her a little bit, and yet she was the sassy little thing, I'll tell you. She's very sassy. All right, here we go. Gemini, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Ooh. Our first angel is Sonia, the angel of deceased loved ones. Akasha, the teacher. Crystal, having faith and hope, and Fiona saying, now that you've asked God and the angels for help. All righty. Yes, Stephanie, Libra, I go backwards. So I start at Pisces and work my way towards Aries. So we have 3 more to go. including Gemini. Sonia is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Akasha is being joined by the Fire Fairy. Crystal is being joined by the High Priestess. And Fiona is being joined by the Serpent. This is very interesting to me because the first thing I look at, Gemini, is that this full moon is truly going to illuminate and liberate you from so many things that you have felt. I want to put it this way. It doesn't feel like it's about a topic as much as it feels like that twin thing inside of the Gemini head. Because Sonia is representing your angels asking you to have more courage to step into the deeper part of your truth. And yes, we understand, your guides, that there'll be a certain amount of mental storm as well as emotional storm, but they're asking you to hold tight. And I say that because there's an inspiration coming to you. And I want to offer it this way. Akasha, the teacher, is not saying you're a teacher, but that you're being taught right now how to have faith in your own vision of what you want for yourself, because the timing is probably off. I was talking to a client yesterday, and this person was so frustrated because they were saying how nothing's happened and they wanted things to happen. And it's been like a year and a half. And I had to remind them, we've been in lockdown for 3/4 of that time. So things couldn't maybe happen the way they would have normally. So I feel like when I look at this full moon in Aquarius, blue moon, is saying to Gemini, have the courage to believe a bigger picture. Yes, there's a bit of a storm going on right now, and this is outside of ourselves, not necessarily inside of ourselves, but bigger things are coming because God and the angels are here, and now it's time for you to be open to receiving. And I want to offer it this way. I truly believe that Spirit has shown me that this second act, where we go through this sort of crisis, is to make the third act of the reconciliation of the crisis sweeter. I'm going to be more succinct. I believe that the people that watch this show, the people that are into astrology and into spirituality and into conscious thought, are part of souls that have come here to help rewrite this experience. And part of it is to go through the unknowing. Part of it is to go through the doubt. Part of it is to go through the dark night of the soul in some respects. But continue to have the courage, Gemini, because you're pre-wired to walk this journey. And as you do, you will inspire others through what you've learned. And what you've learned is to have faith in a deeper picture of what you want versus what you see with your eyes. You know, Gemini rules the third house of my siblings, my neighborhoods, my communities, my everyday activities. So we can get caught up in thinking a lot of those everyday activities are real, but they are man-made. So now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving, because it looks like you want to rewrite your everyday activities into something man-made that serves you from a higher perspective. That's where I'm going. All right, let's go on to Taurus. Thank you, Nina. All right, so Uranus has gone retrograde in Taurus. I think it happened the end of last week. Can't remember the date. I wasn't focused on Uranus this week. I was focused on Saturn and Venus making an aspect, which I haven't even talked about, because they're making a harmonious aspect to Trine right now. And then the moon being conjunct Jupiter. And I don't know if you guys looked out at the moon, but last night I could see it and it was beautiful, the conjunction. So, because where I'm going with this is that Uranus, I don't think really wants to explode anything, but I do feel like having Uranus traversing my moon for the last year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is, back and forth, it's really given me an opportunity to have that epiphany about a habitual way of feeling. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that there was a disruption and it was really history-based. And in the history of it, I have a habit of how I've reacted. When I was able to sit back for a second, I could choose a different reaction. I could realize, I could own that I was acting in habit. And I didn't feel that way anymore. Oh, Juan, I hope that I'm sending some love to you about this moon. All right, here we go. Our first angel for Taurus is Athena. The second is Seraphina. The third is Maya. And the final is Crystal. Sun and rising in Aquarius. I'm so sorry to hear that about your boyfriend. Sending condolences, because it's never easy to walk through that kind of what feels like a betrayal. All right, Athena's being joined by the partnership card, Taurus. Seraphina's being joined by the dog. Maya's being joined by the hawk. And Crystal's being joined by the truth. Very interesting. Athena is telling you that it's safe for you to lovingly assert yourself. And then here's the partnership card. And when I look at this, I can't help but feel this sense of wanting to liberate myself a little bit from where I've disempowered myself. I'm a Taurus moon, and I'm an intuitive, and I'm stubborn as all get up when I think I know something. And I will not give up. So, and I have it in Scorpio, so I'm really willing to believe what is unseen. And I feel like for my Tauruses, this is a time for you to lovingly assert yourself, not only with the idea of any sort of partnership you want on the outside, loving partnership, but also in the viability of it, in the, how do I want to say this? I feel as if there is a part of Taurus that gets to look at, have you attached yourself to something that feels dependable but doesn't really fulfill you? And because I feel like your opportunity and or your obstacle in partnership as you're lovingly asserting yourself is to assert yourself from a place of claiming your happiness. And I think this is kind of what I have done. When I was talking about having an upset related to my history in life and my habitual way of responding to this upset, and I was liberated and was able to lovingly assert myself into the evolved version of myself, which made me realize that I wasn't sad anymore, but I was rather relieved. So actually, while we're on Taurus right now, we finished Gemini. This is, in the angel's advice, is Maya, the angel of schooling and education. And Taurus is being offered an education of rising above a situation and actually seeing it from a larger perspective so that you can truly take advantage of this feeling of love, of this feeling of being loyal in a situation, and that loving energies in your home life can exist. Because in the final position, Taurus, is the truth card, and Crystal saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. The way I'm going with this, I have Taurus in this, I have my moon in Taurus in the second house. The second house rules our history, our family history. It's where our confidence, where our self-worth comes from. And as I have lovingly asserted myself in the various dynamics and partnerships in my life, I see that there are dynamics where my perception has interrupted my ability to receive. And I feel like that's what the truth is. The truth is that what I've experienced up until now wasn't really serving me. So now, rather than villainizing that or being sad about it, I get to shift into having a greater faith that, Taurus to me is an interesting sign, because while it loves the idea of being able to on the earth experience these feelings, second house rules our possessions, it's ruled by Venus. There's also this feeling with Taurus that if I'm authentic with myself in my truth, then I need to be tenacious in my truth. I need to think of my truth as being as practical as the cup I'm holding in my hand. And that as I step into this partnership with the idea of lovingly asserting myself versus pushing myself, then I actually do get to experience more people who are aligned to me, people who vibrate like I do, and learning how to see above maybe some of the small things. One of the things I think that, I will, in my life review, have a little moment about is I didn't study astrology when my dad was alive. And if I had known he had Neptune in his first house, I might have thought of him differently, because my dad was very chameleon-like. And he was not necessarily a fatherly figure. He was more just sort of a love you gotta go kind of guy. And my Taurus moon never got over it. And I feel like, if I'm to be honest, I beat him up for his whole life, trying to get him to validate me, validate who I am, my intuition. And it was never going to happen. Never. He wasn't wired that way. So Taurus, and being on an astrology channel, Taurus moon, rising, sun, and stelliums, maybe it's time to look at the charts of the people you love in your life and to see how they're pre-wired. Because if you're trying to get them to see you, they may not have the eyes to do that. And in order for you to truly be happy in your partnerships, it's about trusting your truth and then having faith that the experiences you want will start to line up in the material world. Hope that made sense. All right, let's go on to our final sign, Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Thank you, Chrislyn. What a pretty name. Okay. Hi, Nicole. Welcome. Good to see you. I love my baby goats. All right, here we go. Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our final sign today. It's 121. We got a 121 in the room, and it is... it's the 22nd. Yesterday was the 21st. All right, here we go. First angel is Merlina. The second is Archangel Uriel. The third is Aurora. And the final is Ray. Merlina is being joined by the spider. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the novice. Aurora is being joined by the earth fairy. And Ray is being joined by the serpent. So the first thing I want to say is this full moon for my Aries is happening in their 11th house of networks, social networks, of house of aspirations, the house of hopes and dreams, the house of friends. And right now we have Merlina representing confusion. And then we have the spider. And to me, this is really about, I'm seeing the internet, I'm seeing Instagram, TikTok, blah, 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 blah. If some Aries have decided that they want to maybe put themselves out into the world to pioneer into an experience that is more aligned to expressing themselves in the material, I want to offer it this way. With Merlina being confused and indecisive, I don't think that you should be confused, because I think this is about trusting your own heart. I think this is about putting yourself out into the universe as is authentic to you. So let me use this as an example. When I started on Lotta's channel, I did not think of myself as an astrologer. And even today, if I'm going to refer to myself, I like to refer to myself as an intuitive astrologer, because my intuition is always going to be commingled with every single thing I do, because I'm hardwired that way. So when I decided, or when Spirit urged me to reach out to Lotta to see if I could be on her channel, I thought, why me on this channel? That doesn't make any sense. My job was not to worry about if it made sense. My job was to start to build a network. And in Aries, beginnings for Aries, you can get so frustrated. You want to get going. You want to get moving. Here is a time to take your time to really think about what you would like to witness. This feels so much about like Aries' heart. So when I do my show on this Sunday, I give what I would want to receive. I do these readings in a way that I hope inspires you into feeling empowered versus like something's happening to you. So this is what this is about. You no longer need to feel frustrated. You just have to give life to there's new beginnings. And you sort of love new beginnings, because in the angel's advice is the earth fairy. And I don't think this is about physical health as much as this is about bringing into the material that which you have called forth, that which you have wanted to experience. Because this is, okay, so the full moon is a culmination, right? But every culmination starts a new beginning. Because I feel like for my Aries, there's something about starting to endeavor your hopes and your dreams. There's something about starting to endeavor your 11th house dynamics. So if you want to meet new friends, you want to birth something on an internet platform, it's now starting to observe that from your own tastes and desires. So here is an opportunity to get knowledge, but the knowledge comes from your connection and what feels good to you. So let me kind of try to be clear about this. I do readings with cards all the time. And there are moments when I look at the cards and I say, these cards are not right. My intuition is telling me something different. And when I honor that intuition versus the cards, I find my accuracy levels go up more. There's something about Aries right now, allowing a culmination of something. And maybe that culmination is that you're an angry person. Maybe that culmination is, in my most recent encounter with challenges in my life, someone told me I was negative. They're like, you're such a negative person. And I said, that just goes to show, I said this to myself, that just goes to show how blind you are to the truth of who I am. And even more confirming for me to step away from this dynamic. So Aries, individualize. Have the courage to allow yourself not to feel frustration or obligation in this situation, but rather to allow yourself to open up. And I want to offer this. If you want to endeavor something on a platform, on an internet platform, to birth something in a way that's more putting yourself out there in the world, I think this is a viable idea, but I also think it's about allowing yourself to flesh out the truth of your own heart and then follow that versus trying to plug yourself in what you think maybe your audience would like to see. That's the way I'm putting that. Because when I look at Merlina, and I feel like the confusion doesn't come from needing research, but coming from my own personal taste. What would I like to see if I put something out in the world? I feel like Archangel Uriel is helping you rewrite this dynamic of you being frustrated and negative. And it's going to be an unstable new beginning, because every time someone tries to feed an Aries bullshit, they're going to barf it back out. They're going to be like, no, that's not true. It's okay. Because now the angels are saying you're flying high right now and you will inspire others. And it is an opportunity for you to put that inspiration into the physical world. And doing so, it's through your connection to spirit that you will not only shed a skin for yourself, but you will help others shed skins for themselves. So that's what I've got to go on. You know, it's space for the soul. It's a hard time to be, an intuitive is a natural empath. We want to kind of compartmentalize. Oh, you're a medium, you're an empath, you're an intuitive, you're a psychic, you're an astrologer. But there's a commingling of all of these things. They're kind of like lights. All the rainbow is light, and yet the speed of light is what changes the color. So I feel like this is a time of integration of all of ourselves, of rather than compartmentalizing ourselves, compartmentalizing ourselves, to start to see ourselves as a rainbow. And depending upon how fast the light is, we may be illuminating a little more purple one day, a little more red another. I don't know, this is a crazy metaphor, but it makes sense to me. So Aries, allow this full moon to illuminate you, liberate you, and inspire you to move into your more Aquarian energy, the thing that brings you joy, that makes you feel purposeful in this world. All right, that's it for me for this week. I will be back next week with another segment of Traversing the Transits with your favorite Teri Hunter here. I should say favorite Teri Hunter. I don't know if there's more Teri Hunters out there. I think there are. All right, everybody. I'm going to wrap it up for today. I want to thank Small Wildflowers and Juan for your never-ending loyalty and support for this show and for this tribe. We love you very much and appreciate you so much, meaning me and everybody here. And I want to send everybody love for a wonderful week. Put your intentions out there and do your best to try to sit in the present, guys, to try to really it's a worrisome time. All right, guys. Love you. Peace out.